Okay, so here we go. We're going to go to part 3. This is, if you have not checked out part 1, part 2, make sure you go look at that, okay? We're going to go to part 3. Now, part 3 is the things that started happening in the background. Now, the mother is, I'm not going to say any names again. This is just a refresher. I won't say any names in the story because of the simple fact, privacy reasons. But the mother was working a full-time job plus doing her side business. And she was taking care of her 2 older children and then the other child that was from another person. So she has 2 baby daddies, okay? Nothing wrong with that, honey, whatever, okay? And she ended up she ended up going on maternity leave with her child, with her youngest child. Now, as she's on maternity leave with this child, the father of the older 2 children decided that he was going to stop paying child support at the time that she was out on maternity leave. He started making up excuses. Everybody hits a hard time, da 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 da. So, well, that hard time carried on for a year, 2, maybe about 2.5 years now. Okay. So I sat there and I watched this woman go through paying all of her bills, taking care of everything financially for her and her children while out on maternity leave. And she was out on maternity leave for quite a while, for about 3.5 months. Okay. And throughout this time, he kept making excuses that he couldn't, why he couldn't pay child support, whatever. Okay. So then she's, telling him like, hey, you're going to make a payment. Can you make a payment? She's trying to get back to work. Unfortunately, with the whole COVID thing, daycares were full. So she wasn't really able to find a daycare to get her child in. But thankfully, she ended up finding someone to watch her child. Okay. So this woman ends up going back to work. She takes on the load. She's working full time, has a newborn baby. She's taking care of her other 2 children. And this particular father, again, continued to give her issues. Um, so throughout this time, the mother is kind of, they're going back and forth. And she's like, hey, can you make your child support payments? Da, da, da. And he's like, at this point, okay, we're like in the month of June, July. Okay. At this point, and he starts becoming like really aggressive, like, oh my God, I can't stand your voice. I can't stand to hear you. Like just being evil towards her. Like she was asking him to do something that he wasn't supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like she's asking you to take care of your responsibilities. You're making excuses of why you can't. And all she wants you to do is pay the child support that she's asking you to pay. She's already carrying the load by herself of the kids. You know what I'm saying? So what she does was she decides to tell this person, well, you know what? We're just going to go back to court and try to figure it out that way, because me trying to go back and forth with you, this isn't working. You're being hateful, you're being spiteful, you're being malicious. Okay. It's not that he couldn't pay, y'all. He just was refusing to pay. And this is how you'll know. You go on later on within the year. It's it's getting later in the months. Okay. Later in the year. And this is like in getting close to Christmas. So we're going to say about November. He completely stops paying child support. Like over the time, he was sending like $50 here, $100 here, something like that. Well, he completely stops paying. But during Christmas time, somehow he doesn't have any money, but he like goes all out for Christmas, all kind of stuff, spends all this money on Christmas for him and his girlfriend and the kids. They have like this amazing Christmas. Of course, his kids too. He had the kids because the mama had the flu at the time. So her and the baby had the flu, so they had to stay. They were at home anyway, so it was a good thing. It worked out. But yeah, and told the kids, well, you tell your mom she ain't got to worry about buying you nothing because I'm pretty sure she don't have it. So it was that type of energy, which he knew the money that he was spending was the money that was for child support that was owed to the mother. The mother had been taking care of the kids by herself the entire time. He wasn't helping at all. And I know a lot of people be like, well, you should be able to take care of the kids on your own without child support. Yeah, shut the up, okay? Like, 2 people laid down and made that child, so they both need to be supporting the child, okay? And again, the mother was carrying the load by herself. She was trying to ask the father for help, and he was just refusing. He was being a butt. That's what he was doing. So then what he decides to do, they had a court date coming up in like the earlier year, that next year. I think it was like January, February. And so they were waiting for that court hearing for child support. Well, the father decides, because they were married at the time, decides that he's going to run down to a attorney and file for divorce so that he can block anything with the child support. So now when they go to child support court, the court is saying, oh, there's nothing we can do. Y'all now have attorneys. You're now in the divorce situation. So, you got to kind of let your attorneys have it. So the woman speaks up and she's like, hey, like, he's not paying child support. He's purposely refusing. And the judge is like, well, you have to pay what you've already agreed on. And he's like, I'm not refusing. I'm not refusing, which he was. I mean, if you can afford iPhone watches, iPhones, you telling your child you're going to buy a new car, all kind of stuff, right? But you're refusing to pay child support. But it's because you can't pay. But y'all just had an extravagant Christmas. On top of that, you was just buying all kind of cell phones and iPhone watches and stuff like that. Okay. So he's purposely trying to destroy this woman's foundation. This woman has built herself all the way back up from being abandoned from this man to begin with. Left with mortgage, left with a home, left with a car payment, all by herself, raising kids by herself. Okay, while this man just lived his best life and was doing whatever. So what he decides to do, he runs and files for divorce and files for full custody. So now not only is this woman having to carry the burden of taking care of kids by herself, but then you go and file for full custody in the divorce. So now the woman has to come up with even more money to hire an attorney to prevent this man from taking kids from her that she's been supporting, that he has not supported, which is bogus. And so, once everything resolves and stuff like that, I'm going to be doing, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm working on a certain situation or a certain project, because I want to be able to help moms like this. Moms that are going through situations like this where the baby dads and ex-husbands or whatever abuse the court system. It's not right. It's not fair that you leave the burdens on the mother and then you go file for full custody because you don't want her to have the kids out of spite, or you don't want to pay child support. But you're burdening, and then you put the mother in a compromising position to where she can't even afford an attorney. And that is so messed up. So thankfully, this mother had a team behind her. It's like, as this woman's falling, I mean, the day she found those papers and she found out he was trying to take full custody, I remember her standing in the kitchen and she broke down. She broke down and she cried. Hold on. I watched this woman build her entire life out of nothing to provide for them kids that father refused to support. Although he wanted to put on like he was a supportive dad, he refused to support them kids to hurt that woman. And I watched that woman break in that kitchen, receiving them papers of him trying to take full custody. And the worst part is him and his girlfriend worked together to do this. And the reason I say that is because this mother started trying to co-parent. She was being flexible. She was letting the kids go to the games with this woman, letting them go places because it's for her kids. And behind the scenes, y'all two were working together to take the children from this mother. That's what y'all did. And y'all were okay with it. Y'all were okay with it. That woman broke in that kitchen. She thought to herself, how am I going to come up with all this money? The attorney was asking for almost $5,000. This woman did not know how she was going to come up with this money to get this attorney to fight for her own children that she had been raising by herself for years after the father ran out. So this is why I say God works in mysterious ways, because baby, next thing you know, that woman went to her family, and her family had a tribe behind her that was there to support her. They was like, no, we here. Baby, we got you. You don't have to go through this. We got you. And she was able to get that attorney. And she was able to fight, which she is doing now. And I'm so fucking proud of her. This woman is so strong. This weak man counted that woman out, and this woman is proving him that she is strong and she is not giving up. Let's go to part 4.